Now on Hot Mic with Huntley Withrow, Ravens kicker Justin Tucker faces serious allegations. I warn you about a specific section of NFL media members. And Withrow, he is pissed off for greatness. For college football entitlement. It's Hot Mic with Huntley Withrow. Welcome to OutKick.com. We hope you'll like and comment and subscribe. Thursday edition is here. We've got Ravens kicker Justin Tucker accused of inappropriate sexual behavior by 6 massage therapists. Here we go again. This through the Baltimore Banner, who Justin Tucker, we'll get to his statement in a moment. He's released a statement this afternoon. Apparently has a big beef with the paper that goes back a ways. This story does too. As early as a while back, is what, 2016, I believe, Chad?
Yeah.
With this. And the details are about what you would expect, where he's nude and he's being accused of,
it's all the
inappropriate contact.
It's all the Deshaun Watson playbook, right? I mean, it's moving the pelvis in a way that the towel uncovers genitalia, exposing erections,
right?
Yada yada yada. It's the exact Deshaun Watson playbook of the initial allegations against him.
The Baltimore Banner has this behind a paywall. It's being asked to charge $1 to read the story.
Yep, they're going to get a lot of subscriptions today, but not from us though.
To the point where it's, he apparently orgasmed on a table or something. That was another allegation. Appeared to have done that.
The lawyer is vehemently denying that claim. Also, his lawyers.
So Justin Tucker, who by all accounts is, known as a good guy around the league. Surprise would be an understatement with this story. When I say he released a statement this afternoon, it is a lengthy one that goes on a ways. He's vehemently denying any of the allegations. I believe we have sections of this. Here we go. The allegations in the Baltimore Banner article about me are unequivocally false. Throughout my career as a professional athlete, I've always sought to conduct myself in the utmost professionalism. I've never before been accused of misconduct of any kind, and I have never been accused of acting inappropriately in front of a massage therapist or during a massage therapy session or during other body work. I've never received any complaints from a massage therapist. I've never been dismissed from a massage therapy or bodywork session, and never been told that I was not welcome in any spa or place of business. Now, the accusation is he was banned from 2 massage therapy sessions. And
banned.
A couple of therapists refused to ever, massage him again.
Yep.
He goes on to say, it accused me of misconduct. The article takes innocuous or ambiguous interactions.
It's like Jackie Childs.
Skews them so out of proportion that they are no longer recognizable.
Innocuous, ambiguous.
It prevents vague insinuations as fact. This is desperate tabloid fodder. This is where he gets now into the Baltimore Banner. It's no surprise that the paper's interactions with me are marked by journalistic failures at every turn. I'll summarize this. He goes on to say that he reached out to the paper when he learned that they were writing an article about this. They refused to give him the details of what this was. When he learned about it, he had to lawyer up, and he goes on to say it's tabloid fodder, more or less, again. And it's clickbait. It's more than that. It's a huge story with this. And again, it ties into the off-season storyline of what we've been through the last couple of off seasons with, everything with Deshaun Watson in Cleveland. And he ended up settling all those cases.
Yeah, a few observations here. One, serious allegations, no doubt. They are just allegations right now. There are 2 sides to every story, and Justin Tucker saying it's absolutely not true. So we'll see what happens with all this. The other one is, if he was actually doing these things at multiple salons around Baltimore, how much was this dude sweating when the Deshaun Watson news came out over the last few years? If he, in fact, knew that he was doing these things, and it was early in his career, and then the Watson news breaks, boy, oh boy, are you up at night worried about allegations coming out about you. And let me point this out also, and we may be able to find this as well. The X account @_Wick6, J Wick, posted on January 16th, 2021 at 7:28 p.m. Fun fact, Justin Tucker ejaculates prematurely and is banned from multiple salons in Baltimore. This was 4 years ago. This guy posted this, and it has gone wild on social media where everyone is saying, boy, you're the smartest guy in the room. You're the smartest one out there. And he's telling everyone, I never steer you wrong on what he knew at the time. And that would line up with these allegations about being banned from multiple salons.
Yeah, I mean, 2 spas say that they banned him. I mean, that's very specific. The details in this are, specific to, detailed down to what he was doing or what they alleged he was doing. Tucker says that he's denying all this, but the women say they're emotionally scarred. I'm always, I guess I shouldn't be because this happens a lot. I'm always surprised with how long some wait to come out with allegations against someone when there's another example of what has happened to them going on nationally with Watson. You see what I'm saying? Like 2016 when you think about the timeline there, and the Baltimore Banner is the one releasing this information. I have questions about that. I'm not saying that the allegations are false. Don't know, but we'll let this play out, and you get to a point where it's just it's a civil case, right?
Yeah.
So again, I'm intrigued by why that is.
Ian Rappaport,
this is 6 massage therapists, by the way.
Yeah, Ian Rappaport reporting the Ravens have spoken, and they've given the standard. We are aware of the Banner story regarding Justin Tucker. We take any allegations of this nature seriously and will continue to monitor the situation. That's the official word from the Baltimore Ravens. Serious allegations. I, like you, Hutton, have questions about the timing of this. Interesting that one of the women in this report said, I've been telling people about this, but it's always treated as hot gossip or some sort of lie when I say it, and now my story's being written. Yeah. How long has the Baltimore Banner been working on this story? Have they been trying to get someone to confirm it, and now they put the 6 women together so they could finally put that into their reporting? There's a ton of questions here.
And Tucker...
And it's an immediate denial from him and his legal team. I mean, immediate, absolutely not, this did not happen.
And he had some sense that this was coming out, but before he could actually, deny this the way he wanted to the paper and include his side of things, they ran with it. That's what Justin Tucker is saying. And you can tell based on the length of the statement that he's had time to think this through.
And if you gave me every NFL roster and every NFL player in front of me and said, Chad, go ahead and circle the next guy that's going to be caught up in a Deshaun Watson type deal.
Right.
How far would we be down the list before we got to Justin Tucker?
Yeah.
As being that guy. It's pretty surprising, too, with you go and look at a lot of and Deshaun Watson was very charitable also and all those things, philanthropic. Justin Tucker's done a lot of good things in the city of Baltimore, done a lot of good things in Austin, Texas, where he played college football. And not the top of my list of who I would even suspect of something like this.
And,
not to say that it's not true. I know. I'm surprised.
I immediately also go to what happens here? He could settle and get 11 games. The NFL gave Deshaun Watson 11 games. You see what I'm saying?
If the women don't...
Here we go again.
Also, if the women don't speak, and they don't talk to NFL investigators, and they don't talk to anyone, and they settle it quickly, and then they just go away, and Justin Tucker sticks with his initial statement, and that stands, then I don't know how the league can do anything.
Well, because they settle the court, the courts have handled this, then they come back and they can say it's conduct detrimental to the league, which is what they did with Watson. And, look, Tucker's also at the end of his career. He's missing kicks that he normally would not miss during the season. John Harbaugh's getting asked about why or if they're going to continue to stick with him, and he did. Both sides very loyal to one another, with Tucker being one of the greatest kickers we've seen. And Harbaugh sticking with him even though it was not consistent at all. It was one of the worst he's had, even some extra points and things like that.
It's a sticky situation, for sure.
Something to watch. That's it. So, Chad, there's a group of NFL media we need to have a discussion about here. It is the season of NFL media transformation. The guy who covers your favorite team or hosts one of your favorite local shows, or is the guy with, has the inside connections, quote unquote, to NFL personnel, all of a sudden, seemingly just overnight, the professional NFL reporter transforms into NFL draft insider. This irritates the crap out of me because there's a group of us in the media. You know who you are. You can't even spell Shedeur Sanders' name correctly. And they tell you Cam Ward should or shouldn't be the top pick in the NFL draft, but they can't tell you why. Then they pray that they're never asked which side of the line Abdul Carter lines up on. But by God, the transformed reporter turned insider, Chad, I think we should just refer to them as the NFL draft transider, transforming into this.
Well played.
They know
I like that.
They know the draft. They'll tell you that. They don't mention Mason Graham's name because they haven't made it that far of the Phil Yates report or column, or listened to Matt Miller, or received Dane Brugler's NFL draft report, The Beast. But once they do, they'll shape someone else's work into their own opinion and act like they've been watching these guys play football for more than just what the combine notes are going to tell them. This happens more than you know. And they pass it off as their informed analysis when they can't tell you the position or school that Malachi Starks or Matthew Golden played for. Not until the 33rd team posts something about it on X. And they do this without any pushback, really. And that's because the majority of us don't really care about the accuracy of any in-depth reporting when it comes to news around the draft. So, with these draft transiders, what they don't realize, though, is the lack of effort and care to these jobs is to just be lazy and reporting on what someone else is saying and just regurgitating it. Those jobs can easily be replaced with AI. ChatGPT can collect and summarize the same information the transiders are serving up to us right now. This isn't all media. This is a group who just can't say they don't know. And then they cite what others have said, but they don't really tell you that it's just coming from a podcast they listen to. It's a group that just can't do the job that they're known for. Others get it. Look, and the ones who get it are very respected. Armando Salguero isn't on the air giving his 3-game scouting report on Will Johnson. Ian Rappaport doesn't act like he's watched college football when the calendar turns to January. They go out and they do their job, and they're not perceived as anything other than they are, the expert in their lane. But your local radio host probably does the opposite. Or the moderator or writer at some fan site for your favorite team. Those guys barely watch ball during the year. And now all of a sudden they're familiar with the lack of talent in this draft. They somehow figured it out before scouts even met with general managers across the league. So welcome to NFL Draft Transider season. It's a groupthink NFL analysis group that it's at its worst, this groupthink. Think about this. Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward played their final college football game over 1 month ago. What have we learned about either of them to this point in 32 days? Teams are still deciding on if they're going to, select them. And all we've heard is, Dion is he going to coach him? Is he not? There's really no depth to any of this. Or where's Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter? I'll stop with those guys because that's the current spot on the draft path that these guys have reached on the Transider Trail. So please, can we stop with this, everyone knows everything? The truth is, those guys don't know very much. Stop the repetitive garbage. And hats off to those who actually do the work and produce legit content. I just wish those guys received the acknowledgement like others used to. We used to just cite, so-and-so believes this. You go to the Draft Insider and you have them on the show. Now it's the host acting like, they're sitting there on, the NFL Films breaking down, the cover 2, but they don't really know. Chad, it just pisses me off.
Hutton, very, very well said.
The
NFL
Transiders.
Draft Transiders, that's into the show's nomenclature. We're going to use it all the time leading up to NFL Draft. Transiders. Love that phrase.
There's a handful of them.
Absolutely. And I, like you, just have a hard time believing like the guy in Philly that covers the league.
Right.
That does nothing but badmouth college football
right.
and the quality of it all year round. suddenly is an expert on Abdul Carter's biggest games of the year and how he fared and how he is a transcendent player at his position and is going to make a franchise. And if the New England Patriots draft, I don't want to hear from them. I like you. We know where to go. You know, we have some of them on this show that are great at what they do. Mike Renner is a good example. People who follow it all the time.
Great example.
They know the draft. They also they blend both worlds well, where they know team needs, they know style of teams and how it fits. But all of that.
And here's the thing:
a lot of the local reporters.
It's that
is kind of what you're hitting on too.
It's some national, but yes.
We talked about the huge war going on between NFL and college football and media when that happens, and then suddenly draft gets here, and all those NFL haters of college football love the game. Expert. They love the players. They know everything about it.
I'm not saying it's those with an opinion. Chad and I will be on the show giving opinions on the draft. I'm talking about those that sit down and be like, oh, internally in this organization, they're believing this because this guy he's more of a right tackle than a left. That's just, just saying the same thing that you're going to hear from the actual scoop and the knowledgeable people that are doing the work to talk with those people.
But the worst thing is they take that opinion, they hear that from someone in the organization, and then they regurgitate it like they are the expert on this player being a right tackle and not a left tackle. That's what really bothers me.
And if they are talking to someone in the organization, it's probably a lie.
Right.
Because then they're just they're pushing the spin from the team that wants others to believe it is what they think.
Yeah.
And it's just it's a lazy way to do things. And
a good solution for this, and there's a very simple one out there. Every beat writer that covers the NFL team, every national NFL insider that's covering the business of the sport year-round that doesn't really cover college football, pick your favorite draft expert that's in this stuff all year-round and give them some credit. Like, now would be a good time to be generous with how you promote people.
Yeah.
And if you like Mike Renner, or Steve Palazzolo or whoever your draftnik of choice is, take this time to use your platform to say, hey, I love Mike Renner's stuff. Here's what he says on Shedeur Sanders. Here's what he says on Cam Ward. Here's what he says on Jackson Dart.
Yeah.
These are possible quarterbacks that could go early in the draft. I'm going to give him some promotion because he's done more of the work, because I've been living in these NFL streets all year, and I'm not really seeing the college game as much. I would love for more reporters to do that.
Yep. And again, it's a very small sect, but it is a group that acts like they are high and mighty. And then during the fall, I'm not watching the lesser sport. Like, how dare I have to watch college football? These lopsided games. That's the group I'm talking about.
Or, I tuned in for this game because it's supposed to be great.
Right.
On Saturday night in my hotel room, getting ready for my NFL game tomorrow, and this game sucks. So all of college football must suck.
And that person can't name two scouts on that team that they cover. By name. Chad, the demise of college football and entitlement. How are you tying this together?
Well, I love college football. First off, we talked about these NFL insiders that don't like the sport. I'm a huge fan. I watch the sport. I also try to keep my ear to the streets, and I try to talk to people everywhere I go, family members, friends, some older, some younger. We take it to the streets on this show. It's what we do. We want to hear from people. We want feedback. And the feedback I get a lot of times is, man, I just don't like the sport as much now that these guys get paid so much. And that, to me, is not the biggest issue. I think it's what the money leads to. There's a lot of theories about the demise of college football because of the ratings going down throughout the playoffs. Everyone wants to immediately point to those players getting paid as the ruination of the sport. I disagree. It's the chicken shit entitlement culture that has infected college sports like some disease or plague that has been orchestrated in a Wuhan laboratory. And that's not just a football problem. It's everywhere across the country, and it's all over sports. I don't care if a good player gets paid. I don't care if people that work hard, that are a part of the team, that put something into it and get something out of it and help the team win, when they get paid, I'm all for that. I really don't care about that. I do care about people who believe they are owed something at all times. And I'm not just putting this on the players. I do think anybody born after 2000 and probably like 95 to 2005 has a bit of entitlement in them, more so than others. And guess what? That's probably people a little bit older than mine's fault. Parents are to blame for this. I hope I'm not to blame. I'm a tired man. I got 2 daughters. I got a wife. I got a mortgage. I got this job. I've got to coach a softball team. I get it. There are times that you want to be a pushover with your kids. I hope I'm not part of this problem with my daughter's generation because it wasn't as big of an issue with me. You know, now if you're a college football player and a coach yells at you or tells you to do something directly and you don't want to do it, it's a debate. You know, hey, go screen down hard right here. Oh, well, I don't like the way he talked to me. I don't like the way he said that. Let's call timeout and let's talk about it on the sideline. Hey, defensive end, set the edge on this play. Make sure to do it. No, I don't know. I'm not into that. Just do it. And that's what we've lost. Sports operate at their best when they're both meritocracy and monarchy. There are coaches, there are team captains, there are alphas in the locker room, there are role players. Everyone serves a purpose. And it's not that one is that much greater than the other, but the coach has to coach. The team captain has to represent the locker room to the coach. These things matter. They mattered more before. They don't matter as much now. Money has infected it. Coaches of today are to blame. They've gotten softer over the years. Don't think they haven't. They have to play the game to acquire and retain talent. And they've become lazy and soft when it comes to this also. I grew up in a time where my high school basketball coach once pulled my ass out of a practice when the girls' team was on the other end, threw me to the other end of the court, and said, if you're not going to be strong with the ball and you're going to be like a girl, go play with the girls. Nowadays, that person would be reported to the school superintendent, and my coach would be fired for being a misogynist and this and that and abusive and all. You know what it taught me? It embarrassed me, but it taught me I need to be stronger with the ball. The next game, I had my first double-double this season. That was the first of 8 in that junior year of rebounds and scoring. You know what the coach did on the other side, the girls' coach? He didn't say, oh, well, he's demeaning us over here. He said, Withrow, get in there and post and guard Stacey Shell. That's what he said. And I went in there and I guarded my ass off against Stacey Shell. And I blocked her shot a few times too, because that's what you did. And people yelled at you. I had a coach that broke a Nintendo because we didn't study the scouting report because we were playing old school Tecmo Bowl. With his big-ass hand, one of the biggest I've ever seen, he walked into a locker room, slapped the Nintendo so hard in front of the entire team, it broke in half. It was amazing. But he did that to get our attention. Did we run and hide? No. We stepped up because he was the coach. I pray my daughters play for a coach like that. I'm not saying this to say that I had a bad coach. He was a great coach. He was a fair man, and he was a fair coach. And I love playing for him. And there was nothing wrong with it. When I started out in this business, I worked for a guy by the name of George Plaster, Nashville radio legend. Hello, everybody. He gave me my break. He gave me an opportunity. He is the first person that 19 years ago gave me my first show and put a microphone in front of me. I'm forever in debt to that man. Do you know how many curse words I've been called by him when I was working for him? I mean, every possible name in the book, this guy called me. And there are times where I shouted back at him. There were screaming matches on the phone. A lot of things happened over the years. But when I was 24 years old and I was starting out in this business and I was starting to host, I needed that. I thought I knew when I didn't. There's another highly publicized story out there. You can go read about it in the early days of OutKick. Clay Travis and I were in New York City having drinks with Aaron Andrews, with major Fox Sports executives, with John Lynch, who was on Fox Sports at the time, telling stories around the bar table. And Aaron Andrews asked me, who the bleep are you, when I was talking? And in retrospect, I wouldn't have handled it that way. If I were her, I probably would have been a little bit kinder to the new guy at the table. But she's not totally wrong. Who the hell was I to be talking in that group and telling a long story? Well, I probably should have shut up at the time.
You did give your name to her. I
did. I said, I'm Chad Withrow, and I went and, actually, I met her before, but I had to go back and reiterate who I was to her. Long story short, entitlement's an issue. I think the older generation is tired of it, and I think that's part of the demise of college football ratings that we're seeing. That's why on OutKick, Clay Travis founded this company with one mantra, one ethos that was going to permeate the entire brand. It's this right here, this shirt. It says DBAP. It stands for Don't Be a, I'm not going to say it, but if you know, you know. I don't want to put our censors harder at work than they're already going to have to be. I appreciate you guys also. That's it, DBAP. By the way, you can buy this at OutKick.com for $28 right now. And you can find out what that means. Even if we can't say it on the show, you can find out right there what that P means in DBAP. Don't be I'll let you fill in the blank. The quicker we stop being that in college football, the quicker those numbers will more reflect what we saw in that AFC Championship game.
I mean, well said. I've always it's generational, right? It's very cyclical, but I don't understand why, the way we were raised. I grew up on a farm and worked on the weekend before I was able to watch college football, right? My punishment was we'd go pick up rocks. Literally, we wouldn't pick a 5-gallon bucket of rocks. That sucked because I wasn't achieving anything. And they knew it. I was just pissed off in the heat.
I don't even.
But I'm saying our generation was raised a certain way, and then I don't have kids, but I'm watching. It is our age that's very soft on how they're raising children.
Well, I'm thrilled that
I'm not talking about you. I'm
talking like elementary school, middle school ball. I mean, we were of the time where you just put trash cans out to go puke.
Well, it's not even how they're raised.
Like you lost a game or you missed a rebounding assignment.
It's how protective.
You're going to run till you throw up.
It's really how protective parents are now of how dare you yell at my kid while he or she's being coached. Well, we were yelled at and cussed at.
The older generation of that is absolutely to blame in a lot of this.
And then it comes back around.
Tying this back to college football, right? Like you get something said to you if you're a linebacker for a team that you don't approve of, or you get yelled at and you get chastised in a film session or whatever. And so I feel like more than half of the athletes of today, their first reaction to that wouldn't be, man, I really need to step it up and get better. Their mind starts to think, you know what? This other school recruited me. I need to transfer.
Castellanos.
Yeah, I'm going to leave. I'm out of here. I'm going to go somewhere else where I'm not talked down to or I'm not coached hard. That was never a thought.
Well, think about what happened to Kiffin.
Maybe we're just ignorant because, we were around the start of the internet. I don't know. But Hutton, was there ever a time where a coach yelled at you at Warren County and you thought, I'm going to transfer to Cannon County?
No.
Or I'm gonna go talk to this coach, or I'm gonna get my parents to send me to private school because I don't want to deal with this. It was just that was the town you were in. That was the team you were on, and you just had to deal with it.
It was life.
You either got better or you didn't.
Yeah, if you improved.
And my mother, I thank her to this day because she would never side with me. Well, when I complained about a coach, she'd say, maybe you should get better.
I was never allowed to quit.
Maybe you should shoot more in the front yard. Maybe you should do this. Oh, I was never allowed to quit either.
I quit one thing. It was piano lessons.
But can you imagine the first thing being, I'm just going to transfer?
Well,
every single time and not, hey, let me stick with it and see if it gets better and if I get better.
It's also because of the culture.
Or I'm going to go get more money.
Yeah, it's also because of the culture. Here's what really feeds into it. The coaches have about 3 years. And so they can't afford to be hard on a player that's threatening to transfer because they need that player to get maybe that player means an extra win for them,
Oh, no doubt.
To stick with it. So, the culture is really fed through the fan base that's calling for the coach to be fired.
This is a cyclical thing. I'm being hard on young people right now in college
sports. It comes back around, though.
And they're to blame. They're absolutely to blame. But it's their parents. It's some of their coaches growing up. It's their current coaches that aren't holding them accountable for this reason Hutton just said.
Right.
They can't lose some of these guys. If they decide, because again, a lot of these guys, their first response to adversity or being yelled at, coached hard, however you want to call it, is to run and tell somebody or to run and try to go transfer somewhere and not to stick with it. And that's a coaching problem because they're more apt to not do that as much because they don't want to lose the player because they know they can leave at any point.
Well said, Jeff.
And again, you can tell me to get off the lawn, that I'm that type of guy all you want. Go talk to people, if you're younger, go talk to people that are a little bit older and ask them what's wrong with the sport. And I guarantee you the first thing that comes back is they're spoiled. The players are spoiled. They get their way too much. They're making too much money, and then they can go make more money just by leaving the team they promised their services to before, and they don't like it. And look, it's a bad system. There's a lot of things to blame, but this is a big part of it. I don't think it's as much the money to those that deserve it, that are earning it. It's the entitlement that it produces because of the opportunities at other places.
Well, so yes, but that's why we need the structure. You need the guardrails of what the NFL has. There's entitlement with NFL players, but they still have to work within that parameter of what the NFLPA has agreed to with the NFL, right? Like, so the coaches can do so much. They can have full padded practices and all. I mean, can you imagine in college football? Like, no, we're not going to get full pads today. It's too hot. You know, like there's no. What's the recourse of that?
It's none of that. By the way, great speedy work there by Brooke and Ryan Leach back there with the promo on the shirt. Like we're selling shirts here. Look, we're just not. Look at that. My goodness, the speed on that. We're not just a media company that's going to tell you the truth. We're going to sell you gear also. OutKick shop. Go check it out. $28, this bad boy. Very soft tee. This is the type of material. This isn't creepy at all the way I'm feeling this material right now. I'm feeling it up. This is Hutton's T-shirt, and he's had it for about 2 years. It feels brand new still.
Shop.outkick.com.
That's how great this material is. Thank you.
Oh, OK20. OK20 for 20% off.
20% off still.
Right.
So I'm bad with math, but that's less than $28 that it retails for.
Is Dean Blandino bad with his assessment of NFL officials? He's one of the best. Like him and Mike Pereira. It was Mike Pereira, then Dean Blandino, and when Dean Blandino left as the head of officiating for the National Football League, all hell broke loose because there was no face of NFL officiating. It became just a quote, transcription. No transcription here. Here's Dean Blandino discussing whether or not NFL refs favor the Kansas City Chiefs.
Again, it just kind of fits where we are right now with the Chiefs get the calls. I think the Chiefs, there was a great game. And I didn't think it was the officiating that was ultimately the deciding factor, but that's always going to be part of the conversation.
Dean, you, like we said, you were in charge of all of the officials. As you watch these games, is there anything that stands out to you that you see where you say the Chiefs are getting an unfair advantage? I know obviously a lot of people have run with this narrative on social media especially, but is there anything that you see as you watch these games where you say the Chiefs have an unfair edge here?
I really don't. Look, you see, it's hard to sit there and say this team, right, 7 straight AFC championship games. They're going to play in their 5th Super Bowl in the last however many years. They've won 3 of them, going for a three-peat. So they're pretty good, right? So that means they're disciplined. That means they're going to be, on top of everything. So yes, do teams get breaks at times? They do, and not every call is right, and sometimes that happens. I think it evens out over time. But me watching it, I don't see these games and say, oh my God, the Chiefs are getting all these calls. It's just these are close plays, and they happen to go, in the Chiefs' favor on Sunday.
By and large, I agree with him because I do agree with the say you create your own breaks. Great teams create their own breaks. For instance, now it ended up 2 plays later going back in the Bills' favor, but the Bills recovered a fumble early in the game, and they were offsides on the play. And 2 plays later, Mahomes fumbled it again, I believe. But they didn't get that play. The Chiefs got a break, but the Bills gave it to them. The Bills didn't create their own break there. But I'll say, he says, they're not getting breaks in these games, plural. That's what I agree with, Chad. But they did get the breaks in some really bad calls in the game that I was referring to with Houston. So I don't throw everything in. If you do, and you just reach in and pull something out, chances are it's going to be, overall, they did this on their own. But that Houston game, I still raise an eyebrow to it. It still bugs me with those calls.
For years, people would say, boy, the NBA is rigged or something's up. And then the Tim Donaghy thing comes out, and it's like, oh, man, my suspicions were right. It actually was rigged. And here's a guy explaining how it was rigged. Now, that was through gamblers and gambling as to why he was paid and bought, and it was all rigged. Do I think that the NFL office is rigging the games or telling officials who they want to win or what the outcome should be? Absolutely not. I don't go that far with any conspiracy theory. But I would be foolish not to consider the possibility that there's some official that has taken money from someone. I mean, if it's possible with Tim Donaghy and the NBA, it's possible with the NFL also. I've got no knowledge of that, but it's possible. I don't believe that either is what's happening, but I do want to put that out there because everyone is either going to go with the conspiracy or go completely anti and say conspiracy theorists are crazy or, there's something here. I'm kind of living in the middle with that. I don't think it's rigged.
Right.
But I will allow for criminal activity to take place with officials. I don't think it's coming from the league office, though. People want to make it like the NFL writes the scripts, and they're going to tell the officials what to do. Here's what I think is happening, Hutton, and something we've talked about on the show. It's human error. It's human nature. I believe Patrick Mahomes gets more calls for the same reason I think Michael Jordan got more calls. I think when an official sees the greatest in the game at that time take a fall or look like something bad happened, their brain immediately goes to, well, something must have actually happened. So the flag comes out quicker, the whistle is blown quicker for those players, and it's not because they want to give them an edge in the game. It's because human nature dictates that they believe those great players are actually getting fouled.
And we are watching this team over and over and over again, right? You see more of the Chiefs, so therefore no one talked about the Titans getting screwed against the Vikings this year with some awful calls.
Right.
Like no one saw it, right? So out of sight, out of mind. This is in plain view. And
it was a blowout.
A blowout, yes.
Yeah, closer game, you're probably talking about a little bit more, but not to this level.
But with the Chiefs specifically,
every game is a national game.
It's hard to create an unfair advantage when they're 17-0 in one score game, like one possession game. If you're complaining about the spot of the football against the Bills still got the ball back again. Mm-hmm.
They couldn't do anything.
Right. So, but if you're going to fix that game, don't you do it on the final possession where they can't get the ball back? You don't want Josh Allen to have the ball again, only down 3. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
But there are instances where you're just like, what is going on here? Because the breaks aren't happening like that with the officials, with the flags for Houston. So, okay, if you want to complain about it, yes.
It is funny though that Dean Blandino's brother believes it to be rigged. I find that's like crazy, drunk uncle at the family reunion. Like my own brother is like, "Oh, you just signed that NDA, so you can't tell us what the real story is." That would be my brother. That's my brother Nick, who you've met. I feel like if I had that job, he'd be like gigging me, like, "Come on, tell us." Goodell's sending you a text to make sure that the Chiefs win.
And you know what?
You know what's happening.
You know what will not solve this?
I love that.
If we knew the punishment of the officials, everyone's still going to be complaining. There's going to be something else that's going to be fixed.
Well, and Blandino called it. He said, we're going to talk about it for a couple weeks leading up to the game. And then the moment the Chiefs get a call, guess what we're going to be talking about after the Super Bowl? Oh, of course.
That right there, what we heard from Blandino, is exactly what the NFL needs back. The face and the voice of officiating. They don't have that anymore. They go in, they hide in a corner and they release a statement through a pool reporter, and that's all you have. That you had Pereira, then you had Blandino, and they were willing to sit down and explain things. They need that back. Otherwise, they're just leaving it up to us and Armando writing about it. We've got our own opinions on it, but no one's willing to give us a quote on it. And if they do, they're fined.
Well, and I don't say this just because they're Fox guys, honestly. But when you take Pereira and Blandino out of it, not only is the officiating to be questioned a lot of times this year, the officiating rules analysts on TV are not great.
Well, they're all former white hats.
I know. And they're not great.
Well, that tells you how confusing everything is.
They get it wrong a lot. College the same way.
Yep.
And there are times where the analyst nails it, and exactly what they say is what ends up happening. They're arguing with the rules official, and the analyst is right.
Yep.
And not the rules analyst.